Well, hey, happy Saturday. I wanted to do a quick live. And I did a little video the other day about the law of, I forgot which one I started with. I think the law of minimalism. Yeah, I started with the law of minimalism. Thoughts are things. And I was attaching that to Brickgate, the woman who was hit in the head with the brick, because to me, the divine laws apply to everything. And so when we're thinking about why people do what they do, why do they react the way they do, it starts with mindset. So I did that video already, but I wanted to go to the next divine law, the law of correspondence. And that basically says that the outer reality reflects the inner reality. And, the Bible says it this way: out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. It also says, as a man thinks in his heart, or the innermost part of himself, so is he. So those two laws are very closely related, but they're not exactly the same thing. You know, um, I wanted to kind of talk about it because I've seen quite a bit of talk where men have said, oh, she should have just complied. And where do we hear that a lot? We hear that a lot with police brutality. She should have just given him her number. Well, I want to ask those gentlemen, and if she had ended up in a relationship with this man, what do you think is going to happen to her? See, he didn't have any problem picking up a brick and hitting her in public in front of other men. What if she was at home and he felt ownership of her? He felt she belonged to him even more than he obviously felt she did, walking down the street as a stranger. So the idea that complying is going to somehow make women safer, give your number, go out on a date with this man, give him a shot, is is utterly ridiculous, because the law of correspondence states what is in us comes out. So what is in him is entitlement and violent reactions when he feels that he's not getting what he's entitled to. And no ability to self control, no fear of consequences. This man had no fear of consequences. He didn't think anybody was going to stop him. And he got in his car and left, but he didn't have enough fear of consequences to not do what he did. So you are telling a woman to comply with a man like that? And then if she had, what would have been the response? You saw the red flags and you went, you gave him your number. You went on a date with him. You got in a relationship with him. So it kind of seems like there's no pleasing these men who want to justify what happens to women. If we don't comply, we deserve what we get. If we do comply, we deserve what we get. So I want to say to every man who had that she should have just complied thought process, really think about what you're saying, and really think about the inner heart and mindset that thinks that way, because you got an issue as well. You may not be a person who picks up a brick, but you are a person who has a very toxic mindset. And when we look at society and we look at what people say and what people do, the law of correspondence is in place. What you physically see people do is what is in them. That's what they have inside of their heart. That's what they have inside of their motivation. Now, we all can act out of character, but there are also causes that led up to us acting out of character. And we may have, for example, been abused and not dealt with those triggers. So we get triggered again and we act out of character. Those triggers were still within us. That unhealed trauma was still within us. So, regardless of whether you're acting in character or acting out of character, it still comes out of you. It is still a sign of the law of correspondence, that what is within us comes out of us. You know, there's a saying that money just magnifies what's inside a person. And there was another saying, I saw this, it was either an article or a YouTube video, and it was talking about testosterone. Testosterone is of course a male hormone. Males and females both have testosterone. Males, of course, have it in much greater degree. And like money, testosterone is said to um, magnify what's in a person. So, for example, there are people who get testosterone shots, and those who are aggressive become more aggressive. You know, the theory in this particular video was if you gave a bunch of Buddhist monks shots of testosterone, they would become over givers. They would become over meditators. They would become over, spiritualists. They would do it even more. So when people are hyped up on adrenaline and their testosterone is pumping, they become even more of whatever they have inside of them. And that's why some men can become even more dangerous when they're all emotional, because they haven't trained themselves to deal with their emotions. They've only trained themselves to suppress their emotions or to give vent to the emotions that they feel are appropriate, which most oftentimes is anger. And when you have a person who feels it's not appropriate to really share their emotions in a positive way through communication, through therapy, through meditation, through some of these other things, but the only thing that they can do is react in anger, that's a dangerous person, because as soon as they get emotional, that's their go-to. So I didn't want to go too long on this, but I did want to speak on that. And I also wanted to speak on the fact that it is National Literacy Month. Now, in America, it's said that the average adult doesn't read very much. In fact, most adults don't read after high school. Reading is a way to change this mindset. Reading is a way to expose yourself to new ideas. Reading is a way to expand your whole horizons of what is possible. Because what is possible is only what we see as possible. But that isn't the limit. The limit is if you can imagine more, you can do more. There's a study that was done not too long ago. Oh my gosh. It was talking about the 4 minute mile. And it was saying that for the longest time, there was this theory that no human could run a mile in 4 minutes. But then somebody did it. And after that person did it, a bunch of people did it right after that, because they knew it was possible. And once they saw it was possible, they did it. So sometimes when you read, you realize things that are possible that you didn't even know were possible. And that expands your ability to imagine and to dream and to push yourself to greater things. And so as a teacher, I've been trying to get people to read, students, adults, for 30 years. All right. I retired recently in January. And you know what? I want to talk about that for just a minute. Wasn't even going to go there, but let's go there for a second. Entitlement. I was just thinking, my brain makes interesting connections. So I just had this thought come to me right now. So I just retired in January. And oftentimes when I say that on social media, or especially if I say it on LinkedIn, and I say, I just retired, I get job offers, which that's great. I'm grateful. That's a beautiful thing. I'm not, it's wonderful. It is. But it also is kind of funny to me, because I retired because I was burnt out. I retired because there was so much pressure on teachers. And there was so much, the expectations were up here and the help was not commensurate with the expectations. Expectations are here and the help is way down here on the ground. you know. So they're expecting more but giving you less. It's kind of like that old analogy of the slave driver trying to get the slaves to make bricks but not giving them any straw to make the bricks with, and he's sitting there beating them with the whip, and they're saying, we got no straw, we don't have any straw to make the bricks with. Well, figure it out. And that's kind of how I felt. And I was like, I'm going to my health is suffering. I had my first panic attack at school, didn't even know what it was. I literally had a panic attack at school and had to get, I didn't know what was happening to me. Got escorted to the freaking nurse's office. Have no health problems, no heart problems, had a panic attack. I was like, yeah, it's time to go. When I figured out what it was, I was like, oh, it's time to go. It's time to go. It's time to go. So I'm bringing that up, and I'm going to tie that to Brickgate, because sometimes, every now and then, doesn't happen very often, but every now and then when someone approaches me and they find out I'm a retired teacher and they find out I'm 52, they get angry. Our schools really need good teachers, and you have the nerve to be retired? You're supposed to work till 65. It's my life. And if I choose to go back, that's my choice. But I see in that situation the same thing that happened with the Brickgate situation, and the same thing that happens with a lot of single women. I've seen a lot of men post online, all these beautiful women and they're single. What's wrong? What's going on? She's not beautiful to get a man. She's beautiful because she's beautiful. She's beautiful because she takes care of her skin and her hair and her nails, and she dresses well and she eats right and she drinks her water, and she does that to have a wonderful life. She doesn't do that just to catch a man. I went to school. I got all of my education, my degree, my experience in education, to use it how I see fit. And if I choose at this moment to not teach, that's my right. And if that beautiful woman chooses at this moment to not be in a relationship, that's her right. If she chooses not to give you her number, that's her right. So what people have amassed and what they have as qualities and abilities, it belongs to them. It doesn't belong to the person who wants to use it. And many times that is what people are wanting to do. They're wanting to use the person that they're so angry with. They're wanting to use that person. And that person may just not want to be used. And I'm not saying that every man that wants a relationship with a woman wants to use her. There are some men who are genuinely about partnership and genuinely want to give and be reciprocal. And they want a balanced relationship. But there are some men who don't. They're just looking to use that woman. They have needs and they want those needs met. And her needs are not even on their radar. And we see that because of the entitlement that they have. So when you read, hopefully, you will realize and you'll get a broader perspective of life. You'll get a broader perspective of the world we live in, and you won't be so entitled, and you won't feel like these things are just your right to have and your right to experience, because it's not your right. Every human being was born with freedom of choice, and they deserve to exercise that freedom of choice. They don't need your permission. A grown woman, a grown man does not need your permission to make choices for their own life. You know, and this idea that I posted the top 3 beliefs that lead to violence against women according to many different studies. And I'm gonna see if I can pull that up real quick, because I did a quick little video with it. Um, so it says a human rights organization listed the 3 most common beliefs that lead to violence against women and girls. If you believe these, you're part of the problem, not the solution. Number 1, women owe all men submission. Women have a place subordinate to men. Number two, men are expected to exercise power and control over women. Resistance to this power or control is rebellion or a lack of femininity. Number three, men have the right to discipline women for incorrect behavior or attitudes. So if you have any of those three beliefs, you're part of the problem, not part of the solution. I also put out another little meme, way back when we were in quarantine. I looked at the response to COVID when it first came out, and I thought that it mirrored the response to racism. And I wrote a little meme with 8 things that I saw where our response to Corona was very similar to our response to racism. And then when I thought about the Brickgate situation, I thought our response to misogyny, our response to the abuses of patriarchy is very similar to our response to racism and very similar to our response to Corona. And so I'm going to just say these things. Number one, people deny that misogyny exists and that patriarchy has negative, causes, well, and effects. Number two, people say it's over exaggerated. This is just a political ploy that, misogyny, oh, that's, something from the past. It's over exaggerated. The patriarchy, something from the past. They say it'll magically disappear if we ignore it. They say that, oh, we're doing a great job, the best job in the world at fixing the issues between the genders. They blame, minorities or feminists for the problem existing. If they just be quiet, if they just know their place, there won't be a problem. They tell women, mothers, single women, that it's our duty to sacrifice ourselves for the good of the country. It's your duty to get married because the country needs stable homes. It's your duty to stay with your husband because the country needs stable homes. No matter what that husband is doing, or no matter what marriage is doing to you or to women. Let's not fix marriage. Let's not fix the issues that cause people to get divorced. No, let's just tell women to shut up and do what their grandmothers did. Put up with it, tolerate it, you know. They let us die. They let women die. Women die at the hands of men who are embedded in patriarchy. That's just a fact. And then, if there is an apology, it's one that comes out after a lot of pushing, you know, but then there's the desire to return to business as usual. And so I just wanted you to think about what's happening in society. I believe that there's a revolution happening. I believe that marriage is going to decline and it's going to have to be revamped because women want more partnership. Women want more reciprocation. Women want more acknowledgement for what they're putting into relationships in many cases. And I think education is the same thing. I'm sitting here retired. I still do consultant work. I still tutor. And I'm thinking, do I want to go back? And I'm thinking about it. I might. But I don't think I'm going to go back to the district that I was in because I didn't feel appreciated there. Um, Especially when I left, I didn't feel like I was given the send off that I should have gotten, considering I'd been there 28 years. But I think that people have to understand that there has to be reciprocation, you know. Um, as far as education, you know, I didn't go into education for a paycheck. I went into it for other reasons. Of course, I want to have a paycheck, but there's a way that you treat people. There's a way that you respect people. There and that to me mirrors relationships so much because there's so many men that I see online where they're basically like, you know, if I'm bringing 50% of the income to pay the bills, then I should that's all I should have to do. Well, if she's willing to pay 100% of what it takes to take care of herself, your 50% isn't enough to make her want to give up singleness. She wants emotional support too. She wants to feel special. She wants to have some romance. She wants to have things that come with relationship. The paycheck or the decrease in the bills is not enough. There has to be an emotional investment, there has to be respect. And I think sometimes, even though a lot of men or even companies will tout culture, we want to have a great culture at this job, or men want respect, they don't often give it, you know? So it becomes where, can you look at what you're asking for, and can you look at what you're bringing, you know? And is what you're asking for equal to what you're bringing? Is what you're asking for equal to what the person has to sacrifice to come to be in this connection with you? And many times it's not, and many women are saying, mm-mm. Many teachers are saying, mm-mm, it's not worth it, it's not worth it. I will stay right over here and I will enjoy myself right over here, and I'm not going to participate in this because I already know I'm not. And let me say one more thing. All these ideas are popping in my head. Okay. I am 52 and I'm in singles groups on Facebook, and I post, and every now and then some little 30 something year old man will say, "Oh, you're just a bitter old woman and you're upset that nobody wants you." And I'm like, "Oh God, you got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me." So, I wrote a memoir. This is my memoir. Says plenty of guppies and other dating misadventures. This is my personal copy. A reader actually read this and she highlighted all the reactions she had to it. The pink was for stuff that tickled her pink. The green was for stuff that she was like green lighting, like she agreed with it wholeheartedly. Like the yellow was for stuff that she never thought about, that she was like, oh my gosh, that's an amazing thought. The orange was for her favorite poems, and the blue was for things that made her sad. So this is my healing journey. 7 years of my life, 2014 to 2021. In 7 years, I actually went on 147 dates. 101 are in the book. All the guys have nicknames. I'm bringing this up because I didn't date very much in high school, didn't date very much in college, and I was 145 pounds, size 8. Okay. When I got divorced, I was 235 pounds. Okay. Size 18. I'm around a little bit heavier than that now. I got way more attention at 43. Um, Size 18. Then I got size 8, 145 pounds, 25 years old. I had been on 6 dates in my life by the time I was 43. I've been on 153 since 43. So, no, I'm not, attention is not a problem. And being in a relationship, I'm not in a relationship because I choose not to be in a relationship, not because I can't find a man to offer me one. So this idea that all women that are older are bitter is ridiculous. That all women who are older have no opportunities is ridiculous. All right. That 25 is some kind of cutoff is absolutely, utterly ridiculous. And what the fear really is that younger women will listen, they'll pick up a book like mine and see what I went through, and the goods and the bad, the good and bad things, because I mentioned a whole lot of good things. I met some amazing men. I have amazing men as friends, but the good and the bad, they'll get to see the whole picture. See, patriarchy likes to say, this was the message I was given: go to school, get a job, get married, have kids, you'll be happy. That's the promise of patriarchy. You as a woman were born to serve. You were born to cook, clean, have kids, make sure your man has a legacy, make sure he's taken care of. And if you do a really good job at that, he is going to just put you on this pedestal, and he is going to treat you like the queen that you are. But first, you have to do the good job. First, you have to be the good woman. First, you have to pour into him. And if he thinks you're worthy, he's going to pour back into you. That's what I was told. And that's what almost every woman my age that I've ever run across and ever had a conversation about this was told. And we did that to the best of our abilities. And what we found was the more we did, the less he did. The more we did, the more he seemed to think that we were his mom. And he just sat back and enjoyed and put his feet up on the coffee table and, you know, and when we asked for something, it was, why do I need to do that? We had to beg, we had to cajole, we had to convince. All of this, you're going to get this if you prove your worth. It was not true. And so when we say to younger women, you need to have certain boundaries, you need to have certain expectations, you need to basically, if he's not doing that, match his energy. You shouldn't be up here giving at this level and he's down here giving at this level. It should be a match in energy. And if it's not, is it worth it? When we begin to say those things, of course, we want women to make their own choices. But this assumption that if the woman does what she's supposed to do, she'll get what she wants is false and flawed. And it hasn't worked ever, you know. Now, there may be some men who do feel this overabundance of generosity when they see how much their wife does. But I would say they're in the majority, the minority, because the majority of men just think they're entitled to this because this is what they saw their fathers experience, their grandfathers experience. They think this is normal. I wrote in my memoir that when I think I was 18, my grandmother, she came with us. My uncle rented a little room inside of Landry Seafood. And he had his wife, his son, me, my aunt and uncle and their daughter, and my grandmother, all in this room. He had appetizers brought out, drinks brought out. We had bottles of wine on the table. And, basically a 3-course meal, right? We had appetizers, we had drinks, we had the meal, we had dessert. And my grandmother said near the middle of this dinner, she said, I've never been taken out to dinner before. And I was in college and I had been taken out to dinner for my prom the year before. And so I had already been taken out to dinner. Like I told you, I didn't do much dating in high school or college. So I had been taken out to dinner for prom. That was my first dinner date, was prom. And I was sitting there at 18 thinking, this woman is 60 something. And at 18, I've had an experience that she didn't experience till she was 60 something. And it broke my heart because this was a woman who could cook from scratch, who cooked 3 meals a day, who sewed all of her kids' clothes, all of them. She even sewed my clothes as her granddaughter. She had a garden in the backyard where she raised her own food, a whole acre's worth of food from scratch. She made her own jelly. So she made my grandfather's clothes. She cooked every meal that he ate ever since they were married. Every meal that he ate since they were married. She kept the house clean. Never worked a day in her life, and he had never even taken her out one time. The law of correspondence. What's in you comes out. So inside of him was no desire to shower her with any affection. I don't remember ever seeing that he brought her a gift. I don't remember that. If it ever happened, I never saw it. So I'm going to wrap this up. But I wanted to say, expand your mindset. Change things that don't work. It's National Literacy Month. I'm going to share the books that I have on Amazon. I have the Ultimate Me Planner. This is a planner that has self care in it. It's undated. You can start now and take it through the rest of the year. I have a guided journal called Zennurgy Your Life. It's 29 pages. It goes with my podcast. I have a children's book, which is actually a illustrated poem. You are wanted and loved because you're you. The audiobook is on Audible. All those books are free on Kindle Unlimited. And I have my memoir, Plenty of Guppies and Other Dating Misadventures. And 11 of these chapters are, you can listen to them on my podcast, Zennurgy. So if you see the link tree right there, you can go to the podcast right now. There's about 119 episodes out on all kind of different topics: self-development, self-care, self-empowerment. 11 of the chapters of the memoir are on there. And since I'm talking about the divine laws, chapter 9 is on my spiritual journey, and it does cover all the divine laws. And thank you so much for joining me. May you walk in synergy. Have a great day.